Hi everyone, I hope you guys are all doing okay with all this online learning stuff. All right, I know it's different and it might be challenging, but I do think we're all slowly getting better at it. So yay to us. And don't forget, if you are watching this video to take the student enhancement test, that you need to be writing notes down on all the examples we cover. And today we are continuing simplifying square roots. Right, this is actually part 2 of simplifying square roots. Right, so we're still simplifying, but these square roots I actually believe are much easier to simplify, right? And this is why. Right, for number 1, we have the square root over 25 over the square root of 4. Right, remember in the last video we had to actually simplify those square roots by making a factor tree and all that stuff. But this time we should all know off the top of our heads what the square root of 25 is. Right, so remember the opposite of square root is like squaring. So for example, we know 3 squared is 9, because 3 times 3 is 9, which means the opposite of that, the square root of 9, is 3. Right? So when finding the square root of something, we're looking for that one number multiplied to itself that gives us that number. Right? So back up to number 1, for the square root of 25, we need to think of that one number that multiplies to itself to give us 25. And hopefully we all recognize that number is 5, right? Because 5 times 5 is what gives us 25, right? So the square root of 25 is 5, right? Same idea for the bottom. Now we need to find the square root of 4, which is 2, right? And again, that is because 2 times 2 is what gives us 4, right? Also, you guys remember we're allowed to use calculators now. A lot of your calculators do have the square root button, so feel free to use your calculator as well. Right? And that is as simple as our answer can go. 5 over 2 can't be simplified anymore, so that is our final answer. Right, so we're doing the same thing for number 2. Right, now we're looking at the square root of 64 over the square root of 16. Right, so again, using our calculator or just thinking of our square roots, right, we should know that the square root of 64 is 8. And again, that's because 8 times 8 is what gives us 64. And then on the bottom, the square root of 16 is 4. And again, that is because 4 times 4 gives us 16. All right, so now we have an answer of 8 over 4, but that is not our final answer. Because remember, you always have to simplify your answer. Even if the instructions don't say to, it's kind of a given. It's always there in math. We want simplified answers. All right, and in this case, we can actually go ahead and do 8 divided by 4. So remember, this fraction is still just a division sign, and we get 2. So our answer for number 2 is 2. All right, guys, so now for the other type of questions when simplifying square roots. Okay, number 3 is asking the square root of 23 is between what 2 numbers? All right, so this square root of 23, just like we knew the square root of 25, the actual value is 5. Right? The square root of 23 is not a perfect square. We don't know its exact value or off the top of our head. So we're trying to figure out what 2 numbers does it lie between. So again, if you guys have a calculator, you can use one. Let's see if I can get mine to work. I'm going to do the square root of 23. Yay, it's been giving me issues, but it worked. And I got 4.795 and lots of other things. All right, so if the value of this square root of 23 is 4.7 something, right, hopefully we can see that means this answer is in between 4 and 5. Right, 4.75, right, this decimal falls in between 4 and 5, which means the square root of 23 falls somewhere in between 4 and 5. So that is our answer to number 3. All right. We can also think of it this way. Right? If we're thinking of those perfect squares, I know that 16 is a perfect square, as well as 25 is a perfect square. All right? And if you see the square root of 16 is 4, the square root of 25 is 5, and hopefully we can see how this is matching up, you guys. All right? The square root of 23 falls in between those 2 square roots, which again means the value is lying in between 4 and 5. All right, so kind of 2 different ways to look at it. If you do have a calculator, that is kind of the easier option maybe, right? Just type it in and then we can see what numbers it's in between. All right, so now we just got to do the same thing for number 4. Now we're looking at the square root of 89. All right, but I'm actually going to do it my second way first this time. I'm going to think of my perfect squares that are close to 89. All right, I know 81 is a perfect square. I also know that 100 is a perfect square. And notice how the square root of 89, right, 89 lies in between those two numbers. So that means the value of the square root of 89 is going to lie between the value of these two square roots. Right, the square root of 81 is 9, the square root of 100 is 10, so that means the square root of 89 is somewhere in between 9 and 10. All right, guys, and we can check that with our calculator. All right, so on my calculator, I'm going to enter in the square root of 89, and I get 9.4339, and so on. All right, guys, so again, we can hopefully see here with the actual value of 9.4, so on. All right, again, this number, this decimal, lies in between 9 and 10. All right, so hopefully you guys can see it from both ways. Hopefully this was a helpful video. As always, if you still have any questions or anything like that, please just let me know. You can message me on Etsy. That's the easiest way. And yeah, you guys are all doing great. Keep up the awesome work, and hopefully I'll see you guys soon. Have a great day. Bye.